We're on.
All right, she said, my name is Curt Owen. I work for South Coast Family Funeral Services with Kathy. I've known Kathy for over 15 years and I've worked with her for over 15 years. We worked for a corporate funeral home for my whole career, and it got to the point where we weren't able to adjust to their rules and their dictates, and so we decided to head out on our own. I always said that my last job or the place I worked at was very stressful. What Kathy and I are doing is even more stressful, but it's a different type of stress. It's very fulfilling for both of us, and we're really excited. Mortician is probably, or people who handle the dead, is probably one of the oldest professions in the world, right along with bread making and probably prostitution. And it just comes down to somebody has to handle the remains once the body's no longer breathing. And so it takes a certain sort of person to do that. I'm a licensed embalmer and funeral director in the state of California. To become an embalmer, you need to go to school, and the rules have changed since I went to school. I started in '92, and at that point it required 1 year of instruction, and then you had to embalm 50 bodies a year, or the first 25 bodies under the direction of a licensed embalmer, and then you had to do 100 bodies per year for 2 years to be able to get your embalmer's license, and then you also had to take a written test. In the state of California, to become a funeral director, and the rules have also changed since I got my license, but you need to have an AA degree, and there's a written test, and then you're issued a funeral director's license. I wanted to talk just a minute about the embalming process while everybody's eating. There might be some interest in that. Embalming is basically the temporary disinfection preservation of the body. This is achieved, and my best analogy for embalming is to the body as cooking is to an egg. Our body is made up of millions of little cells that are all individual. The embalming chemicals make all those cells group together. So like when you cook an egg, well, you crack an egg and it's runny, but you cook it and it's firm. Embalming is basically the same sort of process to the body. You begin an embalming process, you bring up an artery. It's right above, you make like a little 1.5 inch cut above the collarbone. You dissect the tissue that's under there, and then you bring up an artery and you bring up a vein. There's a cannula that's hooked to a machine. The machine basically is like a replacement to the heart. So the formaldehyde and glutaraldehyde and whatever other chemicals you're using go into that artery. They go to your heart. The heart distributes it through all your arteries and ends up with the veins, and then it comes out the vein, and then that fluid, or it basically pushes the fluids, that's lymph fluids and blood, out of the body, and then formaldehyde or the glutaraldehyde does that process where it links everything together, which stops decomposition, which is one of the main things that you're trying to do with embalming. The business has changed an awful lot since I started. When I started in '92, there wasn't a computer in the office. All of our printing was outsourced. I'd never seen a fax machine before, and now Kathy and I, we live on our computers all day long. That's it's not only a means of how we're advertising, but the electronic death registration system in the state of California is online, and that's how we get a death certificate signed by a doctor, and then we file that with the county, who issues us a permit, and then the state will issue us a death certificate. So we spend a lot of time on the computer now, And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to bring that into the business more so that people don't have to come to the funeral home. There's a lot of people who don't want to go to a funeral home. They're I mean, either bad experiences in the past or they just don't want to be there. And so if we can handle everything online, over the phone, or like in the old days we used to use the fax machine, but now everybody's usually online, so we can do that. And so we're trying to bring that into our business, not only to help us, but to help the families that we serve, so that in their time of need, their time of grief, they can stay home. We can go to their home, we can go to the hospital, we can go to the nursing home, anything, so that if they don't want to come to the office, that they're able to handle everything electronically or online. The vision that Kathy and I have for our funeral home is to treat the families that we serve with respect, honor, and honesty. While we realize that this is also a business, we're in a business, and unfortunately, we're having to deal with people who, are in a bad point in their life. And we realize that, I mean, we're here to make money, or we're there to make money, and we're trying to treat families with a little more respect than what we had encountered in our previous positions, where, it's for us, as I said, this is a business. We're here to make money, but it's also, it's a calling for Kathy and I to be able to do this, to be able to assist people in their time of need and create enduring relationships with them. We're hoping that people come back to us. We found that in our last position that a lot of the families that we met became repeat families. These were people who came back to us time and time again. They would call and they would ask for us because they had had this experience with us before that was good, that wasn't bad. And so we're trying to do this different model where we have basically what's called a storefront. We don't have a place where we store bodies. We don't have a place where we can have a visitation or a service in our building, but we're able to use churches. We're looking to do in-home visitations where, for instance, the casket would be taken to the home and they would have their visitation in the house. You've got to make sure that the doors and the windows are all big enough so that you can get the casket in and out. And so we're looking towards doing that. And we're just really, really excited about this. We really are. And we're cheap. I don't know, we'll have to look at our prices here in another 6 months or so and see if we're too cheap. But we're not the most expensive funeral home in the area, and we're certainly not the cheapest funeral home in the area. I mean, we're well aware that you can be cremated for under $600 in Orange County. And we're well aware that you can be cremated for over $3,600 in Orange County. And at this point here, we're at $795, and that's $795 out the door. And we think that's fair.
Out the door.
Out the door. And so,
Dead or alive.
whatever it takes. So I guess we'll open it up. Anybody have questions? Yes, sir.
Any questions?
If people are getting cremated, do they get embalmed?
No. If you were going to have, say, a visitation or a service with a body present, and then the cremation followed the service, then normally, yes, you would be embalmed and then cremated. But there's no law that says that you have to be embalmed in the state of California. Yes, ma'am.
Can you take care of caskets or urns or any of that stuff?
We have quite a selection of caskets and urns. we don't have a showroom, and our showroom in the old days, like 20 years ago, they used to have a room and you would have anywhere from 20 to 30 caskets in the room. And they found that it depressed the heck out of people to go into this room and see all these empty caskets. And so they've moved to the point now where we use a catalog. We have our caskets on our computer so that we can show them to people. We can take the computer out and show them, or we can send people a picture. Yes, ma'am.
You also can arrange the headstones.
We do grave monuments, yes, either a flat one or an upright. We're able to do those, and we're very competitive with our pricing on those.
One more question.
So Sean, are you going to ask me about if they're too long to fit in the casket? Are you going to ask that or me?
Custom.
They have longer caskets, they have bigger caskets. Yes.
What are you looking for tips? I mean, what are,
Now, how can we
Well,
help you?
okay, we're trying nursing home, hospices, nurse supervisors at hospitals, any of those people who are at end of life or involved in the end of life procedure with families. Those are the people that we're reaching out to. So if anybody knows those people, we're certainly willing to talk to them.
Excellent.